Dear shorthand writers, this is English shorthand dictation number 131 and the dictation speed is 140 words per minute. Ready? Start. Madam, as far as this bill is concerned, I do not find too many clauses where we need to have long discussions because it is a very simple bill for transferring the ownership. At one time, the ownership rested with the Reserve Bank of India. Now it is being changed to the Government of India. I do not think much needs to be said about clauses and the bill which every one of us will automatically support. This could have been done even earlier. In this context, I wish to express some of my opinions in regard to improving the banking and economy of this country. At the time of independence, when there was no corporate sector in India and when we were depending on outside investors, it had become a necessity for the banks to finance the public sector undertakings and also the corporate sector which came forward. Much of the money used to go only to the corporate sector and the rich people who were investing in industry and trade. Today, the situation is changed. A situation has come where our corporate sector is in a position not only to invest in this country but also to go to other countries including America and Europe and invest there. So my humble suggestion to the Honorable Finance Minister is to think in terms of reducing the lending to high corporate sector where they have got crores and crores of rupees with them. So, we should not utilize the public money lying in the form of deposits in banks for the purpose of lending to millionaires. The same money can be given to the poorer sections of society which they can utilize not only for improving their livelihood but also to add to the wealth of the nation. Please think on the point whether we can put an end to financing from banks to the major industrial sector which is very successful, particularly the profit-making corporate sector. We can divert a lot of funds to the fresh investors and professionals, to the people who have got some research and development done and who have got innovative ideas. They can be helped with money if they have got bright ideas with substantial evidence of success for the projects which they think of. Statistics reveal that much of the exports are being done by small and medium enterprises. Similarly, in regard to financing the priority sector, we were allocating only about 40% of the total deposits. This was done decades back when the corporate sector was not developed. But today, with 70% of people living in villages and 58% of the people surviving on agriculture, it is time for us to increase this allocation ratio of 40% to the priority sector to at least 60%, so that money would be available to the small scale sector as well as the agricultural sector and professionals among poorer sections of society. We find that a lot of banks are not even fulfilling that 40% or 18% agricultural financing. So, I wish that the government must take a serious note to think about increasing the priority sector lending so that we may take care of the real need of the poorer sections and replan the economy of this country. As regards microfinance, we hear a lot of things, particularly in Andhra Pradesh, that some of these microfinance companies have been charging about 50% from the poorer sections of the society. Where did they get that money? It is not their own money. Some of the banks which find that the transaction cost is more for them are giving crores and crores of rupees to the microfinance companies. This should have been given under priority sector by the main banks at a lower rate of interest to the users. They are transferring it to the microfinance companies as if they were going to do priority sector lending. I can understand if those people were to come with non-profit motive, but even those microfinance private companies are profit motivated. Hence, they are squeezing interest from the poorer sections of the society. So I wish the government to take note of the fact that no major bank should lend priority sector funds to the microfinance companies. It must be done by them only, or it should be given to an institution which is a non-profit entity. We have got a lot of charitable institutions in this country who are doing service to the poorer sections of the society. We have also got new avenues now, particularly the women's self-help groups in this country who are utilizing these funds excellently well. We can see the glow on the faces of women in the villages because they are earning some money. So these self-help groups can be encouraged in a big way. I wish that the government seriously thinks about it, and there should not be a loss of time in curbing the number of microfinance corporations to be given money from the banks. It is public money which can be passed on directly to the self-help groups. Similarly, majority of the private sector banks open their branches only in urban areas where transactions are running into millions and crores. These banks do not have the commitment to lend to the poorer sections of the society in the villages. So they do not open branches in the rural areas. It means that there is no level playing field between the public sector banks and the private sector banks. There must be level playing field, and the same guidelines must be applied and strictly enforced. The private sector banks are mainly avoiding this stipulation of priority sector lending by transferring this money to the microfinance institutions, which is doing tremendous amount of harm to the poorer sections of the society. Right from 1985, I have been telling in this house that the role of the banks is excellent. If we were to provide rupees 10 lakh crore in the budget, then the banks can do more good to the society and to the economy of this country than the budgetary provisions. It is because we will make the budgetary provisions only once, but the banks can lend to a borrower and recycle it 10 times. So, who is going to give them better dividend? Who is going to create more wealth in this country? It is the poor man or it is the common man who is going to do that. Unless they do some mischief, no major company can afford to make that much return. I wish that these banks must identify the right borrowers, more particularly in the rural areas, so that their wealth and their living standards may go up, at the same time increasing the wealth of the nation. In that regard, if the government were to give the target that this priority sector lending must be done amounting to so many crores, then they will immediately catch the voters list and prepare the names of the borrowers. That should not be the case. When priority lending is done, all those borrowers must be identified and they must be trained in a profession where they are interested, and then only the lending must be linked to them. In such a manner, all that money that is given to them can be put to extensive use and the returns will be more. By merely saying that we have given so many crores of rupees to the poorer sections of the society will be of no use. In this context, I will give an example in this house. I am running a charitable trust providing skills in various professions totally free. In my constituency, when my people approached some Muslim families requesting them to send their women for learning some skills, they refused to send their women. They said that they were ready to starve but would not send their women outside for learning the skills. When my people convinced them, they ultimately agreed to send their women provided they were trained separately in a different room. We agreed for it, and some of them learnt making phenyl. At the end, when they were fully trained, I called the district collector to give the certificates to the trainees. The collector, who happens to be a woman, randomly asked a Muslim woman in what profession she was trained.